you call fat yoga.
Yeah.
And also you've got a book about that. And you've got also online courses.
Yeah.
And really you started it because to feel comfortable in a space and have other people feel comfortable and not, you know, because I'm sure you look at yoga magazines and go, I'm not represented here.
No, I mean, and in some ways that's how I got my first yoga photos of myself, which I really love, and they're beautiful, because one of the yoga magazines said, oh, maybe we want to run a story about you, and then so they took some pictures and I wrote the story for free, and then they killed it, but I bought the photos. So like the story just never got run, and I don't know, they haven't maybe understood it, or they haven't, and look, it was a risk to use the word fat, but without it, it wouldn't be a business, because it caused enough interest for people to come and keep coming.
Yeah.
And really, the yoga itself is a break-even, not-for-profit business, but the things we do around it, like the retreats and stuff, is what supports the actual yoga business. It's almost like a community service, the yoga. And, you know, a couple of hundred people do that yoga a week, which is a couple of hundred people that would not, feeling comfortable in spaces which they never normally would. So, you know, these are people that wouldn't go to normal classes, or have been shamed, or people being nasty to them in normal classes, or they just haven't been able to cope with their bodies.
And you do a lot of work. You've got a body positive company with one of our mutual friends, Fiona Sutherland.
The beautiful Fiona.
Oh my God, she's an angel. The work that you both do working with women, and I assume men as well, with eating disorders, around binge eating and bulimia?
Mostly, and kind of all the spectrums around that.
Yes,
and then I've kind of branched out, and I suppose she has too, into body image as well.
Yeah, right.
So they're the three main things.
And why those three? Like, how did you?
Well, I mean, it started because was actually at a work meeting, because I had been talking about we really need a group therapy in this area, because there's just nothing. There's nothing for these people all the time, thinking somebody's going to come, you know, someone's going to big is going to come along and, you know, sort this out. And 12, 13 years later, we're still running this group, which is called RIPE, Recovery is Possible for Everybody, every week on a Saturday morning in Melbourne. And now, you know, we will eventually get that onto the web, but I do have managed to get the body image stuff onto the web, which is really, really great, because it means that more people can do it.
Yeah.
And what I do is something that I don't think anyone else in the world does, is that I put psychology and yoga together for body image.
Great.
In an organised way. There's heaps of people that do it in a, you know, heaps. I think there's 5 of us in Australia.
Right. Right.
But there's not that many people that do it. And it's certainly the first program that's done it, because I knew that yoga helped me. Because it was such a beautiful, ancient, gorgeous practice. And I wanted to, help other people too. Yeah. That's the only reason I did my teacher training. I had absolutely no idea I was going to become what it became. You know, the idea of, you know, going on morning television or being on, you know, like none of that stuff. I never wanted to be in front of a camera like that. Do you know, like it wasn't part of the thing. It was about, we'll get the yoga teacher training so I can help my patients. And and then I, you know, made the controversial, I guess, decision around using the word fat so liberally, and everybody freaked out.
I very much, and I've spoken to you about this before, I don't like the word fat, and I think it's more because I don't want my kids to use that to describe somebody.
Describe people.
Because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and it makes me feel like I don't want them to ever think less of anyone. I also don't like the word skinny either. Yeah. But what should we use? And you use fat. Have you kind of done it to reclaim the word and go, it's actually not as bad as we're saying? Or
yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't done by me at all. It's been reclaimed by the feminist movement in general.
Right.
So the feminist movement worldwide reclaimed the word because, and the fat activist movement, because it was a slur used against women to hold women down, back, keep them dieting. It's Naomi Wolf, who's a specialist in this area, says it's a very powerful political, way to keep women quiet and keep them hungry.
Right.
So, we could have women running the world if they weren't so damn hungry all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, I know. Far out.
So I mean, that was one of the reasons feminists came forward and reclaimed it, and certainly the fat activists, because so many of them had been hurt by it. If people are interested, the words that people really don't like are obesity. That's the word that people in bigger bodies don't like. And I always say, like, if you're not, nobody has to use the words I use. And I'm cautious with my kids too. Like, we don't overuse that word at home.
Yeah, so I'm curious to know how you talk to your children about that and the words you use. I know I feel the same as Monty. I don't like to have the word fat used to describe people. It just seems derogatory to me.
Yeah, and it's
so
interesting.
and then instead they're like, well, what word do I use then? And somehow, don't ask me how, it's gone into a word that he uses swollen instead. Because like I was saying before to Monty, fat needs to be used in other contexts as well.
Yeah.
So I can't ban the word. It's just a describing word for humans that I don't, just doesn't feel comfortable.
You did say it, right?
And then he uses it now to describe people. Like if it's his friend, my swollen friend. I'm like,
it's not that. That's not the right word.
It's not the right word.
Yeah,
but now I'm like caught in the middle of like, how do I actually talk about this?
How do you do it? Yeah. I mean, with kids, it's really interesting. They can be, they're usually just using descriptors. And my kids understand there's a difference between a descriptor, like, fat, which my son would say to me, oh, you've got such a fat tummy. And I'm like, well, yeah, because that was your house. And there's a big joke about that. And, but the thing about it is the discomfort that it raises. I think it's good. Because it kind of makes us think about things. Like if we're uncomfortable about something, I really think it's interesting.
Why?
And like why are we so uncomfortable about it? But it is actually very simple. It's people in bigger and smaller bodies. Like, so this is a person in a bigger body, this is a person in a smaller body. That's really easy.
And but you're obviously comfortable with that word though. I don't know if 90% of other people are,
Well,
like that's what I'm worried about.
The fat yogis are, some of them don't like it, and some of them just love it. The ones that love it understand the feminist movement and the fat activist movement, and have pushed back at, I'm not going to let this hurt me anymore, especially if they've had a long history of that word hurting them. But there's no need for people to feel uncomfortable about it. We have a rule in our house which is like no personal comments at all.
Great.
So, sometimes I just say when people ask me those questions, it's like, well, do we need to have a whole lot of descriptors? Like, why can't they just be, Sarah?
Yeah.
That's
a great way to talk about it though.
Do we have to have Sarah who's in a bigger body? Or do we have to have, Monty who's in a smaller body? Or do you know what I mean? Like we have to describe their body at the same time as describing them. Can't they just be them? Can't they just be human? Like it's really interesting that people want lots of and are so get so interested in this word, but just really, in a bigger body is it's really inoffensive. If you have to describe it, but sometimes
limit when you
why do you have to describe it?